compare different financial vehicles. In this episode, I'm going to address how a properly structured max-funded IUL beats other financial alternatives. Get ready. I've been doing these illustrations for years, and you will see why my favorite financial instrument, bar none, is a max-funded indexed universal life insurance policy structured correctly and funded properly. Then it is deemed a laser fund. So my name's Doug Andrew. I've been a financial strategist and a retirement planning specialist now for north of 48 years, helping people optimize their assets, minimize taxes, and empower their authentic wealth, primarily for long-term goals like retirement or maybe college funding for their kids and grandkids, or working capital for business, or real estate management, or emergency funds, estate planning, on and on and on. Primarily to help people with their serious cash not outlive their money when they go to access the money. And so I show them ways to accumulate their money tax-free, safely, at rates of return that historically have beaten inflation. I want to outpace inflation. I want them to be able to access money income tax-free and not have to wait until you're 59 and a half to do that, because this is not a qualified plan like an IRA or 401k, even though you can use it for retirement. And in my opinion, it knocks the socks off of IRAs and 401ks because it's way more flexible and earns better rates of return. And then at the end of the day, when you finally pass away, anything you leave behind blossoms, increases in value, and transfers income tax-free. Nothing else does that in the Internal Revenue Code, and I teach that in my various books and educational videos on this channel. And this is provided under three sections of the Internal Revenue Code, Section 72E, 7702, and 101A. So I talk about that. I teach advanced continuing education to CPAs and tax attorneys about these three sections of the code. They sit there with their mouths open because they maybe heard about them, but they didn't have to learn them in depth to get their LLM degree. That's a master's in taxation. So they come through and they go, oh my heavens, I didn't know what I didn't know. Yeah, you can't be aware of something you're not aware of. So then I show them why this knocks the socks off of other traditional places where people put their money, like IRAs, 401ks, annuities, mutual fund portfolios, maybe municipal bonds. Sometimes people just hunker down and put their money in a bank or credit union because they're scared to death of putting their money at risk in the market, and they're rowing upstream at the rate of 1 mile an hour, 1% interest in a bank. And of course, the current of inflation is coming down at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, even 15 miles an hour. They're going backwards. And so they would come to our educational events, especially at retirement, because at retirement planning is something totally different than maybe what you did for retirement. And people begin to realize, I'm going to outlive my money because of three big dangers that cause most people to outlive their money: taxes, inflation, and market volatility. So I love to help people eliminate those dangers, make them immune from them. And that my favorite instrument to do that is a max-funded indexed universal life insurance policy structured correctly and funded properly. Then it is deemed a laser fund. LASER is an acronym that stands for Liquid Asset Safely Earning Returns. So then people want to say, golly, this sounds too good to be true. How does it really compare to other financial alternatives? So for decades, I would love to show people, okay, I want to show you an illustration, first of all, of you without increasing your outlay one dime, okay? We're just going to take what you're already setting aside, what you've already accumulated, and what you're setting aside on an annual basis without increasing your outlay one dime. I want to help you optimize your assets by increasing the liquidity, safety, and rate of return, and the tax benefits. So we're just going to reposition these assets, move them around, and reallocate. And I'm going to show you at the end of the day, let's say they were going to retire at age 65, okay? How much better off you'll be at age 65, but that's just the beginning of the story. I'm going to show you starting to take out income because you don't choose investments based upon which ones grow to the most. You may think, well, look, my IRAs or 401ks, if I get this rate of return, they're going to grow to as much as your laser fund or your portfolio of laser funds does. I'm going, whoa, whoa, whoa. No, we're going to look at the back 9 of this 18-hole golf game of life. Let's look at you taking income out, and you're going to see how fast money in those IRAs and 401ks and annuities and so forth will crash and burn. You'll run out of money before you run out, okay? You will outlive your money. So I would show them illustrations, not only during the accumulation phase, but during the distribution phase, and it would shock them when they would see where they had their money, it would run out at age 72, 76, 78. And the laser fund would keep crediting income until they were 120, and it wouldn't deplete. It would actually grow, and all the others were depleted. And the software I used would show how much they would be in the hole. And they saw that some of these accounts like IRAs or 401ks invested in mutual funds were in the hole 2 or 3 million when the laser fund still was going and still had the amount of money in it. And I'm going, hello? It's because if you need to net $100,000 a year, you only need to pull out $100,000 out of a laser fund because it's tax-free. To net $100,000 out of a tax-deferred IRA or 401k, you have to pull out $150,000 in a 33% bracket, pay tax of 33% to net $100,000. $1 million nest egg will be drained dry, totally gone in 11 years. The laser fund can go on another 20 years without depleting that million. Another 20 years of $100,000 is $2 million extra dollars, and you still have your million. That's a $3 million better retirement nest egg. Would you like a $3 million better retirement strategy than your IRA or 401k with the same amount of money in it? It was a no-brainer. But see, they never realized that impact until they saw the illustration compared on the back end when you started to take income and you got clobbered with taxes, or it eroded away the purchasing power because of inflation, which is like a hidden tax, or even the market volatility. So that's why we eliminate those dangers. So a laser fund can accomplish that. And so this is why in a book I want to gift you at the end of this episode. And by the way, if you're already intrigued, be sure and click like, post a comment, share this episode with somebody who you think really ought to hear this or watch this. But most importantly, subscribe to this channel if you haven't. It's free. And when you do, click that little bell, because then you'll be notified every time I post a new educational video, which I do almost on a daily basis. I don't want you to miss out. But stay with me here to the end, because I want to gift you a copy of this 300-page latest best-selling book called The Laser Fund. This is flying off of our warehouse shelves. I don't want you to miss out, and I'll gift you a copy for free. Now, in this Laser Fund book, I have 14 chapters here in the left brain side. This is all the charts and graphs and explanations. And I'm talking about chapter 10 right now, where we actually show scenarios of where you could put money, where a lot of Americans do, in tax-deferred IRAs or 401ks invested in the market, or in maybe banks and credit unions, perhaps in real estate, maybe in municipal bonds because, they're tax-free. Annuities, a lot of people put money in annuities, which are only tax-deferred. There's a lot of different alternatives that people are shown. And then we compare it to a laser fund during the accumulation phase and the withdrawal phase. And when they see how these others crash and burn, they're like, oh my heck. It is really significant to have it be tax-free on the back end. During the harvest years, instead of worrying so much about getting a tax break on the seed money, it's more important to have the harvest be tax-free, and that's a metaphor we use in the book. But then if we cut to the chase and go to page 165, which is in chapter 10, we're talking about comparison to various financial vehicles. And so on this figure 10.23, it shows here these optimal features on page 165. And we start out with the 4 that are on the front of the book: liquidity, safety, rate of return, and tax benefits. Those are the 4 key elements of a prudent investment. So those are the first 4 optimal features: liquidity, safety, rate of return, and tax benefits. But I've also added, okay, we want to have tax-free access and it's tax deferred. Do you get to deduct what you put into it? IRAs and 401ks allow that. The laser fund doesn't, but that is the only one that is colored no on the laser fund because it's like a Roth. You put in after tax dollars, but all the yeses far, outshine all of these others with these various alternatives. Because I add here, is it penalty free? Can you leverage with this? Can you actually borrow against your laser fund at a bank? Yes. Can you use it as collateral? Does it have a self-completing disability benefit if you get disabled? Yeah, you can do that. So it goes through all of these various alternatives. The main ones are IRAs and 401ks invested in the market. Okay. Well, is it liquid? Well, maybe if you, close it out and you go grab your money, but you might have a 10% penalty. You might trigger tax. How about safety? No, money in the market's not safe. You can lose 30 or 40%. Okay. How about predictable rates of return? No predictability with money in the market. Tax-free access to your money? No, you're going to have to pay tax when you access your money. Is it tax deferred? Yeah. Can you put in tax deductible contributions? Yeah, but you're going to be clobbered on the back end. How about, does it transfer tax-free? No. Is it penalty-free? No, you're going to have a 10% penalty. And if you don't start withdrawing money by the age of 72, it's a 50% penalty. Can you leverage with it? No. Collateral, usually no. Disability benefit? No. So it doesn't look very good. There's only 2 yeses. You go over to mutual funds. Mutual funds are generally liquid, but safety? No. Predictable rates of return? No. Tax-free access? No. Tax deferred? No. Tax deductible payments? No. Tax-free wealth transfer? No. Penalty-free? Maybe. It's possible. Leverage? No. Collateral? Yes, you can use it as collateral. Disability benefit? No. So there's only, a couple of positive optimal features with a mutual fund. How about your house? Well, liquidity, only if you can borrow or sell it. Okay. Safety, no, a house can go down in value. Predictable rates of return, no. Is it tax-free? Well, the IRS gives you a break if you sell your personal residence, or you can defer with 1031 exchanges, but they're limited. Tax deferred, possible. Tax deductible payments, well, the interest that you're paying on a mortgage. There's IRS limitations on what you can transfer when you die. Is it penalty-free? Usually. Leverage, it's possible to leverage that. Collateral, you can use it as collateral, your home. So a home's okay, but it's not a place. Houses were made to house families, not to store cash. And if you read a lot of my books, I'll talk about why I keep my serious cash over in a laser fund, even though I own real estate. CDs and banks, you can figure out this. Yeah, you can go to a drive-up window if you think that's liquidity. But the rate of return in a bank is pathetic. You're rowing upstream at the rate of 1 mile an hour. 1% interest, the current of inflation coming down at 3, 5, 10, 15, you're going backwards. Rate of return is pathetic. Annuities, they're only tax deferred. When you turn on income, they're now taxable. Annuities are pretty good, but they don't blossom when you die. So you put in after-tax dollars into an annuity, and then when you start the income, it's now taxable. So I've never owned an annuity. I doubt I ever will, because a property structured max-funded IUL policy will outperform an annuity any day, and it blossoms when I die and transfers tax-free. Real estate is similar to your home. You can only access money out of there if you borrow on it. And sometimes when you need the equity, the worst is the hardest to get unless you just sell it. And then sometimes you have to sell it in a soft market. But as far as safety, no, real estate can drop in value 30 and 40%. It has many times. Predictable rates of return, no. You get some possible tax benefits. The laser fund comes through with flying colors. Liquid, yes. I can access money with one sheet of paper or an electronic funds transfer or phone call. I can email it, and it's super liquid when I need the money. How about safety? Safety of principal when I set aside the money. And any year I make money, it becomes newly protected principal. I will not lose money due to market downturns. So You have safety of institutions, safety of principle. I'm able to earn predictable rates of return. Now, by linking to an index, there might be some years zero, but some years I might be credited 25% or 61%. But pretty predictably, I've averaged 9.62% in any 20-year period since it was introduced in 1980. Pretty predictable rates of return there. Tax-free access? Yes. Tax deferred? Yes. Can you deduct what you put into it? No. It's sort of like a Roth in that fashion, unless you use some other strategies I teach in some of my books, and you can get indirect deductions. Tax-free transfer? Yes. Is it penalty-free? Usually, unless you do something stupid. Leverage? Yes, you can leverage it. Collateral? You can use it as collateral to borrow, and you can have it self-completing in disability. It has all of these benefits over here that knocks the socks off of all other financial alternatives. So that's why this chart on page 165 will begin to enlighten you on why a properly structured max-funded IUL beats other alternatives hands down. To me, it's a no-brainer. Why would you mess with anything else? But the four key elements are liquidity, safety, rate of return, and tax benefits. That's why I put them as the four pillars on the front of the book. So if you want to learn more, claim your free copy of this 300-page book. It's 2 books in one. This side is about 200 pages, 14 chapters with all the charts and graphs if you're a left brain learner. If you're more of a right brain learner, you learn by stories and examples. You flip it over and read this one, about 100 pages, 12 chapters with 62 actual client stories. If you want to use your whole brain, read both of these books, okay? But here's how you claim your free copy. You simply go to laserfund.com, laserfund.com, or click on the link below, and you contribute a nominal amount towards the shipping and handling. Come on, you got to put some skin in the game. I'll cover the rest of that cost. I will pay for the book. I'll fire out a hard copy to you, but watch. You can listen and learn too. You can watch and learn. Check out some of the online learning and the educational webinars that we conduct and learn from those. And if you want to see how these strategies may apply in your particular set of circumstances, you can actually schedule an appointment with an IUL specialist to see how these strategies apply to you. They can create hypothetical scenarios based upon your assets, and they will not bill you for their time, okay? They will not invoice you. Is that fair? So engage now, claim your free copy, and begin to take ownership of your brighter future, and you'll see why this is my favorite vehicle, bar none.